Here's one thing we already knew. Herbie Farnworth is an absolute freak. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys enjoy the video today. Today, we're going to be touching on the England versus Samoa series, the two-game series. I'm going to give you my thoughts overall on what I thought on this series and both these sides, what they got to learn going into the World Cup year. Definitely a lot to touch on in this Samoan side of things. Obviously, England dominating this series here. 34-18 in the first game, 34-16 in the second game. So there's a lot more to touch on with Samoa, but we're going to be touching on England first of all. So guys, make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall and like and subscribe for more content into the future. So first of all, touching on England squad and how they went about their business in this series overall in general. So England have always been a really tough task going over into England. It's definitely a big trip for all these, other nations across the other side of the world, the Australians, the New Zealanders, the Samoans, the Tongans. We've seen it obviously last year with Tonga. Tonga actually put up a good test in one or two of those games last year. But overall, England were fairly dominant throughout that series. And coming into this series, Samoa down on a couple of big men, a lot of big men coming into the series and got dominated off the park in both these games here. So the first big name I did want to put up in lights is the guy we just spoke about just before, Herbie Farnworth, and where he kind of really sits in the golden boot discussion, because I really do believe that he should be put up in that discussion at least. Obviously, over here in Australia, New Zealand, the Pacific Championships is going crazy, and obviously New Zealand just getting knocked off by Tonga. So there's a lot of great storylines going in the Pacific Championship. So a lot of viewership is going that side of things, and due to the time constraints of the England versus Samoa series, the 12:30 a.m. wake ups for a lot of people in Australia and New Zealand, that a lot of the eyes didn't really get put on this series as much as what probably was hoped for, I guess. And I do want to put a couple of names up in lights. Obviously, the big names at the moment for Australia is Harry Grant, Tommy Trbojevic is the two names that I think off the top of my head that have been absolutely incredible in the Pacific Championship. Obviously, Tonga with Isaiah Katoa stepping up in that last game. Maybe he can have himself in a discussion if he gets it done in the final game. We've still got one more game in the Pacific Championship. But I want to give you a little bit of an argument for Herbie Farnworth. So Herbie Farnworth coming into both these series, the first game getting over 200 run meters, 4 tackle breaks, an absolute killer game from him in general. And in the second game here, he went one better. Obviously in the run meters, still at 177, so a little bit under there, but 13 tackle breaks in the series, and it was absolutely instrumental in this big win, England over Samoa. Because I actually did think that Samoa come into this game probably a little bit better prepared than what they were in that first game. There was moments where I thought Samoa looked a lot better than what they did in that first game, but that sin bin that happened with Junior Paonga really swung the momentum back in England's way. And whenever there was sort of an error or an ill-disciplined moment from Samoa, England usually struck on those moments. And the one big man that really struck on these moments is Herbie Farnworth. Add 4 line breaks to this as well. 2 tries in that last game. He was an absolute menace in this series, obviously scoring a try in the last game as well, running for over 200 meters, 70 post-contact meters, 6 tackle breaks to add with that as well. So just an incredible little series there for Herbie Farnworth. I do believe that he should be in the discussion overall for Golden Boot. He's been very instrumental in both these two games for England, and even on the other end too, not putting his name up in that Golden Boot discussion, but for a lot of NRL fans, there's a couple of names I really want to give to you guys to keep an eye out in the future. For maybe players that could come to the NRL or even just to kill it over there in the Super League and kill it for England that we got to watch out for, especially being Australian, versing in the Anzac series coming up in the future. There's a couple of names I want to point out. Harry Newman, another guy that they got there, really strong body in that center jersey, very similar sort of build to a Herbie Farnworth, a really good balanced center as well. Ran for 108 meters in this game here too, the latest game, 4 tackle breaks, but just looked solid in every carry that he had. Matty Ashton had a really good series as well. Definitely a guy that a lot of people should watch out for. A lot of Super League fans really know what he is. Jack Wellesby is definitely another one that a lot of people do know about, but I thought he had a really solid game. But another name I want to chuck up there for the Golden Boot race is also George Williams. So George Williams in both these series was really instrumental, nicking a try in both these games as well. I did think the first try in that first series came off really lazy defense, in my opinion. Like Terrell May in this series, the Toa Samoa, with Terrell May, I think he was limited very laterally in both these two games. The first game very noticeably, especially on defense, and that's what caused that first try there, just really lazy effort in that. But George Williams struck on all the big moments in this game and big momentum shifts. I did notice that in this game here, Samoa end up getting to the 6-2 lead. Liam Marshall goes over to after the Junior Ponga sin bin, before the sin bin. But then George Williams, after the sin bin happened, he ended up striking out at the moment. And I think that's where England started to kick back into gear, and they scored a couple more tries within that period, that sin bin period as well. But I think he was really instrumental in both these series. A lot of really good stats coming into this one as well. Georgie Williams running for 76 run meters, one line break, one line break assist, one try assist. Another player that I thought has been really solid in this series is a guy that obviously had his name up in lights because of the Nathan Cleary discussion, but Harry Smith as well, getting both his team around the park in both games here. A really solid kicking game under him. 4 line break assists in this game, and on the try assist, 2 try assists as well. A really, really solid number there, with even add a tackle break into that one as well. But I really felt like his kicking game was a big noticeable point in both these series as well. 350 kick meters in the second game, and in the first game, I'm just going to check the stats just quickly while I'm here, because a lot of my notes just came off eye test. 522 kick meters in that first game. So an absolute domination from that 7 and 6 jersey. But I do believe those 3 names should be put up in that golden boot discussion at least. I do understand that Samoa didn't have their best team out on paper, and you could probably argue that Australia had to go up against a little bit of a tougher competition, because I do believe if Tonga was to go up against this Samoa side, it would be very similar as like what England got done here, and also maybe New Zealand, probably a little bit lesser tick, because I have been a little bit disappointed in New Zealand, especially in that last game. They came home strong, but we'll touch on that a little bit more in the future. My last little thing on this English squad, is there anything really to change coming into it? And I think no. I think the spine makeup of the side is good enough to get it done in the World Cup coming up in the next coming years. Jack Wellesby is still a fairly young player, so he's going to be still there. Harry Smith is putting his name up in lights lately, so he's been really good. George Williams, as well, as I did touch on before, a really instrumental player in both these 2 games. I think he won man of the match in the first game as well. And we also got Victor Radley, who I do believe has been a lot of the difference between the 2 sides as well, especially that link play he gets through the middle. That first game, he was a really noticeable piece in that England squad. So definitely they are looking very solid coming to the World Cup here. But that's enough on England. Let's move it over to Samoa. And what did we learn with Samoa? There is a lot of things we learned in Samoa this series, but also there's a lot of things that we can have. You could call them excuses, but I do believe that will be a lot better for the run of what they had against England here. So the one thing that I did think in this series was the first game, the middles got completely played out of the park. Like, I thought that they were very lazy in defense. A lot of really big moments, missed tackles, ill discipline. The ruck speed was just like too much for him in that first game. I did think they honed it back in that second game, but still not good enough in moments as well. Unfortunately, in this second game here, a lot of the errors came up with the backline play as well. Like Gerald Skelton probably had a game to forget, a couple of big errors in this one. And both those moments there, England really got over the top of Samoa in those moments. But I really want to touch in on that forward pack overall. Still missing a lot of big key members. I thought that Jeremiah Nanai had an okay series, but Sean Bloor was a big one that I want to point out here. I think Sean Bloor in the last year or so, going to the Melbourne Storm, learning under that system overall, has really, put his name up in lights. And coming into the World Cup year, I do believe he's locked down that left side edge back row jersey overall. He was definitely one of my most impressive for Samoa in the last 2 games, scoring a try in the first game, in the second game. And did he score one in the first game? No, he didn't, but he was very instrumental in one from my memory. I feel like his offloading was a very big contributor. But just every moment defensively, I thought he was really solid. He put off a really nice hit in this last game here on Jack Wellesby after a bomb. Like, there was a lot of nice moments from Sean Bloor. So that was the first one I really wanted to point out. The second one is the backline is completely butchered from the preferred backline from the Samoa squad. But I thought in these both series, I thought Roger showed what Roger can do. There was a lot of good moments from Roger. He was having some offloading in that. I did think defensively, there were some moments he got caught out, but as well, he was having to over-defend in moments as well, because a lot of the frontline defense from Samoa was very, very poor coming into this game. Now let's talk on the halves. This is going to be the real big discussion coming into the World Cup year, and I'm seeing a lot of comments going around already with Blaise Talangi and Anthony Milford. So in the first game, I thought Anthony Milford was very, very poor. I thought that Ben Garner could have switched out Blaise Talangi fairly early on. I predicted Blaise Talangi get that 6 jersey in the first game of the series. I thought that was the best way to go. Obviously, a lot of the heavy rumors going into the Panthers is Blaise Talangi might play number 6 there. And he did come out before the series, says he wants to learn a lot of Jerome Luai, which ended up saying to me that there's a lot of thought that he wants to play 6. One thing I want to point out with Blaze coming into this game, he is played on his left preferred side. He does prefer to play on that Jerome Luai type side. But when you got leadership as in Jerome Luai has played the game, he's got the experience, you're going to put him in his preferred position first. And then Blaze Taulagi is going to have to fill in the spaces there too. And I feel like that probably hampered a little bit of Anthony Milford's game as well. From memory, I'm pretty sure Anthony Milford prefers to play on that left side as well. But for the Dolphins, I have seen him play on that right side in general as well. So I'm kind of like, battling back with my thoughts in my head. I did think overall Samoa looked a little bit better in the second game, even though going down, only scoring 16 points to end the first game, scoring 18 points. Only a conversion came in that period there. But I did think the sin bin in that middle part of the first half really hampered him, or the later part of that first half really hampered him in this game. I think if Junior Paunga stayed on the field, I feel like this could have been a lot more of an arm wrestle, even though England kind of blew it out. In the second half, there was 2 tries to 2 tries with Samoa. But in the first half, within that period of the sin bin, I'm pretty sure they scored that 3 tries in there to really blow it out, 22-6 going into halftime. So Blaze, defensively, he had a lot of poor moments. And missing 5 tackles in this game, his line reading in defense was not the greatest. And I feel like, having Jeremiah Nenai that has had defensive issues as well in NRL probably doesn't help him on that side in general. Not trying to make too many excuses for Blaze, but I do believe for the future of Samoa, obviously Dylan Brown will be pledging for New Zealand. I know a lot of Samoan fans really want to see Dylan Brown in that jersey, but I do believe just persist with Jerome Luai and Blaze Taulagi and kind of just work with that system there. You got Chanel Harris-Tavita that could have got that 6 jersey. I'm not too sure what the situation is there, whether he's going for surgery in the off season. But maybe he could be an opportunity to get that 6 jersey as well. But that was just my thoughts in general. Another one I really want to talk about, Gordon Chankam-Tong, I thought was very solid in both these 2 games. I would have preferred him maybe to get a lot more of a minute role in that hooker jersey. Obviously, Jazzy's playing 41 minutes in that hooker and Gordon Chankam-Tong playing 39 minutes. So a very shared role there, like pretty much a half. Whenever Jazzy went in that role, we've seen it with the Warriors. It's very slow moving out of that ruck. It doesn't really, his service off the ground is not the greatest in the world. Gordy just brings that energy for the middle. So I don't know if Samoa, Danny Levi has definitely been a hooker there in the past. I'm not too sure, again, what is going on with Danny Levi. Coming all this international series, there's a lot of surgeries, a lot of injuries, a lot of, off-field things that you just don't know about why players aren't pledging for certain sides. But that could have been a definite opportunity to have Danny Levi to get in that jersey and have a nice rotation of Levi and Gordon Chankam-Tong. And I would have preferred to have probably Jazzy either starting in that front row jersey or coming off the bench in that front row jersey, because I think he does a lot of good cleanup work in the middle. And I think that was a little bit what was a miss in Samoa here, is a lot of the bigger bodies, they got tired a little bit early and the ruck speed started to speed up on them. And that's when the lie break started to come through. As soon as Herbie started to sniff that the ruck was getting very loose, you started to see him dart in behind the ruck, and it was a really devastating affair there from Herbie Farnworth. I thought he was really, really good. Again, I can't touch anymore. But again, I think that with Samoa, it's not too much to worry about. But the only thing I still do worry about, I'm still questioning a lot of Ben Garner's moves. I think obviously you just got to stick with him, see if he can really build off what's going on here. Again, I do touch on missing Stephen Crichton, who's a big key member of the Samoan squad. Brian To'o, that's a massive key member of the Samoan squad as well. Even as I said, Su'Afa'alongo could really change his backline a little bit. Obviously, Murray Taulagi could change his backline as well. There's a lot of big key members in the backline that could have filled in. I did believe in that first game, the backline played really, really well, and the forwards were the thing that was lacking for me. But coming into this game, a lot of the errors did come off of the back line. Just touching on the errors, I'll just check on. I think Samoa had a decent amount of errors in this game, but a lot of them. So 1 from Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, 2 from Gerald Skelton, and both those ones were really poor ones, I thought. Dean Mariner with 2 errors as well. So a lot of their errors did come from the middle. And we're saying that 4 errors came from Sean Bloor and Jeremiah Nenai, 2 each of both those boys there too. I do think when they have the Brian To'os of the world, the Stephen Crichtons of the world, that cleans up in that area, because both those guys are, conservative with also being very dominant from out of their back end. You don't usually see Brian To'o drop a lot of these lollies. You don't see Muzza drop a lot as well. You don't see Stephen Crichton, create too many handling errors as well. So I think a lot of that definitely cleans up. But it's still just a little bit of a worry. If Payne Haas pledges for Samoa, maybe that forward pack changes a little bit, where I'm a little bit more positive about my thoughts of Samoa coming to the World Cup. But I do believe there's a lot of work to be done in the middle. I was really disappointed in Terrell May in this series, and I thought that after the year he had with the Roosters, a lot of people are really calling out for him to be, because obviously he's being dropped from the Roosters now. A lot of teams will be chasing him. I thought this was a moment in the series that he could have stood up and really showed that he is a premier type of prop in the competition. He's only just poked his nose out there, but I felt like in the first game, he did look like he was coming in very underfit. It looked like he was carrying a couple of kilos on his frame. I'm not too sure what's going on, if it's anything in his personal life or whatever. Nothing like bad indiscretions, but if there's something going on, whether fitness-wise he's not there, I'm not too sure. But that first game, if you go check out that first game, I thought that was a really poor game from Terrell May. And in this one, I just didn't notice a lot of him. Out there, I expected him to get through a ton of work. Like, he still got through 103 meters off 15 runs. One of their most contributors for the middle, but I expected probably a little bit more from him. He had a big handling error, which ended up, causing the second try, I do believe, from England. I think he tried to put an offload outside, and I think it was maybe Jeremiah Neno dropped these lollies there, which ended up, giving England a really good field position to end up scoring their second try from my memory. But just some really poor moments from Terrell May, and I did expect him to step up in this series. So I think that's the one big key area for Samoa. Is definitely their forward back. It's definitely their most positive area from a lot of people's eyes, but a lot of their poor defensive moments is definitely things they need to figure out. Just mobility through the middle is what they lacked a little bit defensively, and cleaning up in behind the ruck. And I feel like that's what Jazzy does very well. But when he plays that number 9 and he has to run around everywhere, play off the ground with the ruck, I feel like he loses that moment of, just playing in the middle as a front rower or a middle contributor, to really just do a lot of defensive cleanup work and just one-off runs. And there's different fitnesses for different players. I don't think that suits Jazzy, in my opinion. But as I keep touching on, a lot of this did come down to a lot of, players pulling out for Samoa coming into this test. So maybe I should be a little bit more lenient on Samoa. I just thought it was a really disappointing test from both these two games. I thought the second game was a lot closer than what probably a lot of people thought of, especially when you see the end scoreline of 34-16. I thought obviously when it went to 22-6, it didn't really show the full, grips of the game. They were up 6-2, and I felt like they were winning a little bit of the arm wrestle there. And then the sin bin changed a lot of this game. I did thought in that first half. Coming to the second half, both teams scored 2 tries in this period there too, so a little bit of an arm wrestle. So I do believe that sin bin had a massive contributor in Samoa's performance in the second game. Do I think they would have got the win over England? Probably not. But I did think that in that second game, they did look a lot more positive than what they did in the first game. I'm not too sure if the Civital, we really like the energy in the Civital, took a lot of them in that first game. You did notice in the second game, they did hold back a little bit there. They didn't obviously get in the faces of England and stuff. And even off the kickoff and that, there wasn't a lot of massive energy, just front loading, just everyone was going ham. Maybe that's what probably limited Samoa in that first game. I'm not too sure, but guys, make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall in that series. Guys, one question I have for you guys in the comment section down below: who was your man in the match for England? Who was your man in the match or your man in the series for Samoa? I really want to understand. I wanted to see what everyone thought in that Samoan jersey. Who stood out for you? And for England, if there's any players that you haven't seen in that NRL, if you haven't seen a lot of Super League, give one name out that you saw a lot of potential in, that hopefully maybe can come to NRL, or maybe end up causing you to watch a lot of Super League and really fund a lot of Super League. Because that's the one thing I think will help the international game grow, is maybe, coming to next year, I might watch a little bit more Super League and touch on Super League a little bit more, because I really do believe that's probably the best way to really touch on a lot of these players that you don't know about. A guy that I noticed well in that England jersey is that Junior Nasemba. He's still very, very raw, but he has a lot of the athleticism, the potential in the future to be a really good edge back rower. I watched a little bit of him in the Super League, so when I saw him in the squad list, I was really excited to see how he'd go in international football. But I'm really, really excited to see the future of him. He's still fairly young, a big body there on the edge. Some of his line running can be a little bit off. Obviously, he was taking out a couple of members there, not to be called as obstructions, but sometimes he was running on inside, outside shoulders in wrong moments there too. But there was moments where he hit the perfect line, and he was really tough to stop at the line. I think there was one moment where Roger had to go a try-saving tackle to really take him down at the knees. Looked like he was going to be scoring a try for all money. But guys, make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall in this series. I will probably look at doing a golden boot prediction maybe after the final series, or before during this week coming up to the final game of Australia versus Tonga. But guys, make sure you comment down below your thoughts overall. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Take it easy. Peace out.